get started. Obviously very excited about the opportunity we have this week to go play a extremely good Tennessee team that is absolutely playing on fire right now, offensively playing at incredibly high level right now, just with their tempo, their talent, the way they're playing at quarterback, across the board. Extremely hard to defend and playing extremely well. And really the same could be said about their defense. Really playing at a high level, getting big time stops when they need to, getting very good pressure on the quarterback, swarming, playing well in all phases. So obviously a big challenge ahead of us. I think the bye hopefully came at a good time for us. We could get back. Obviously played a very good game the last time we played, but needed some time to heal. Our players needed some time to heal up a little bit, getting bruised up throughout the season, and getting our legs up underneath us to play a team that's as fast as Tennessee is in all areas. So looking to get back to work here today and continue our prep here for Tennessee.
Last week, DeAndre told us that Ole Miss and Tennessee, the tempo doesn't really even compare. Tennessee's that much faster. What does that Ole Miss game give your defense, though, at least some preparation?
Well, it definitely gave us some prep, and we had to work on some of that even in camp and just getting our feet up underneath us and try to work at that tempo, because it's almost impossible for your scout team to simulate anything as fast as they do or execute like they do. So we did last week, and we'll continue to do it some this week with good against good, with our offense giving us some fastball, and just get our cleats in the ground, execute calls, the urgency of communicating and getting lined up and just playing ball. We got to continue to work different ways to try to simulate that kind of speed.
Mark, a bye week can do several things for a ball club. And you mentioned for you guys it helps you to heal as well as prep. It can also stifle your momentum. Do you feel like it has stifled the momentum you guys have been on?
I hope not. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think our players, it is what it is. We have to do our best to prepare the team. And I have to, find the best recipe to give them some time off, but also work extremely hard, especially with the challenges that we have, certainly in this game and down the stretch here.
A lot is made about Tennessee's wide receivers, how wide they line up, so close to the boundary. What kind of problems does that present for a secondary?
It does. It kind of forces your hands, whether you're in a split safety look or a one high look, so they know whether you're in two safeties or one. And it also creates a lot of space for them, which is obviously what they like, and gives them big windows with some receivers that could really run, and a quarterback that's playing at the level he is and how accurate he is. It gives them a lot of space.
Does the fact that you've got some pretty dynamic guys on your side of the ball, receivers, does that help you in terms of being able to prepare for arguably one of the best receiving corps in the country?
Yeah, it's different. We have to try to use that good against good just to get some of the speed that they play at. But, I don't know. It's very different styles of offense. But certainly we see very good speed in one-on-one situations. But with the combination and the space that they have in the play action, it kind of puts a little different stress on you.
Mark, with it, during the off week, how much time do you give to self-scout, and how much time do you give to preparing, especially for an opponent like this, who's top 3 in the country?
Yeah, I think, you have to take a good look at both during the off week. So you have to examine yourself. It's the only time you have just a little bit of time to take a good look at yourself and, again, evaluate the things that you're doing well and try to find ways to continue to feature that. And then areas where you're falling short, how do you get that fixed, and why are you falling short, and take a good look at yourself there as long as you can, with putting work in on Tennessee. Certainly we had to put time in at working on Tennessee and get started on that prep. So I'd say it's about equal in the off week, and then today it gives us a little better opportunity to start a little faster on Monday, being that the players were off for the weekend and fresh. So I'd like to have a really good Monday practice today to kind of eliminate some of that stress on Tuesday, Wednesday, because you feel like you have so much work to get in a normal game week.
I know you can't play too much off of emotion, but do you see guys get up a little more when it is the number 3 team in the country and kind of an SEC rivalry?
Well, you better. I think it's human nature when you're playing a team that's playing this well. You better play at a high clip, or you'll get embarrassed. And they could play very, very fast. They're scoring points on everybody, and it's when you're playing the number 1 offense in the country, you better be locked in and be ready to play at a high level.
Mark, when you go up against an offense this prolific, in the context of game management, how do you sort of weigh the wanting to be aggressive versus the risk of giving them short fields?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. I think you could look back to last year. The middle 8 last year was an opportunity for us to possibly win that, and we give up the 3 right before half, which is a huge difference in the game. But you have to. I don't second guess that call. We had an opportunity to convert on 3rd and 4th and didn't. But you give them any amount of time, as we saw in the Alabama game and we saw last year versus us at the end of the first half, they could score very, very quickly. So you have to be able to manage that, the best way you can. And I don't know if there's any exact answer. You think you're dead right if you go for it and make it. If not, you should have punted it, right? So I'm sure I'll be called a dumb if it doesn't work one way or the other. You know what I mean? So.
You mentioned being amped up and having to match their intensity and excitement and enthusiasm. You also have to maintain discipline. You guys being one of these penalized teams in the conference. Is that still important?
Well, it's always important. I think, when you're playing, the way we have and not getting behind the chains and not being able to make up, 1st and 15 an awful lot and things of that nature, it's important. It was important when we went on the road and beat a very good Florida team. We were low in penalties in a very hostile environment. It'll be an even bigger challenge this week with a team that's playing this well, number 3 team in the country at their place, over 100,000, extremely loud. So we better have a great week and be very focused and try to cut down on the penalties as best we can.
The run defense has taken real big strides this year. A lot of people are having difficulty getting the run game going. What have you just seen from their front, and what's leading to success, you think, for them?
They're big and they're strong. They're playing very fast. They really are. They're playing at a very good level defensively. I think even for them it gets a little skewed because they have to play so many plays, and but they're playing very good defense, and their front is they're big and they're active and physical guys.
In the past, when you've gone to these venues, when you haven't had a whole lot of success, you've tried to change up the routine in the week leading up to it. Have you done anything different this week, or are you planning to?
No, not much. I mean, there's certain little things that do nothing that deserves print. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I mean, it's part of coaching and getting your team ready and finding the right message at the right time. I don't know if there's any earth-shattering tools that you can use other than your team better be ready to play. You better have a very good plan, and you better go out and execute and be ready to play at a very, very high level with great intensity. And it's another challenge, and you may hear me say that and repeat, but it's a challenging league. So.
I know a lot of fans, especially Kentucky fans in southeastern Kentucky, they have this game emphasized on the calendar. In your interaction with fans on both sides of the border, do you view this as a big rivalry thing? Is this a big time rivalry?
Well, I mean, that's not for me to decide. That's for you to decide. I mean, every game for us is important. So I've never, I've always been honest with that. I've said, is it important? Of course it's important. It's an SEC East team that we have to go on the road that's very close in proximity to us. It's important.
Mark, turnover margin, I know it's a big, off-season topic. You only won the turnover margin once, and that was against Florida. Is that something you all revisit in the bye week? put a bigger emphasis on, or is it something like you can't force it?
Yeah, it's something that we always stress. It's always important. You can't win if you're sloppy with the football. I mean, you just can't. So we have a hard time overcoming those type of turnovers. When we put the ball on the ground, and not many teams can. Some can, but for us, it's very important. And in a game like this, it absolutely will be important.
How important is clock management in a game like this?
It's hard to say. You have to be able to capitalize. You got to be able to make big stops when you have to, because ultimately this team's going to move the ball, and they're going to they're going to go fast, and they're going to move the football. You have to try to get some stops. They are extremely efficient in the red zone. That's pretty obvious if you look at their percentage. I would say 97% or something, darn near perfect of scoring points in the red zone. So they're going to move the football. You got to be able to get quality stops, and moving the ball is important. Yes, third down efficiency is important. The last game we played, we converted a couple fourth downs early. That I just felt like we needed to continue the drive, and I think scoring points, moving the football. Of course, it's important. I don't think it's ultimately what's going to decide the game, but possessing the football, and with a team like ours with huddling and going slow, it does limit the opportunities. So you got to be efficient. I think efficient on the racks that you have, the sets that you have to be efficient.
Mark, you said after you're going to answer that after the Mississippi State game, you thought maybe that was the best offensive line's best game of the year. What did it look like on tape, and how would you judge their progress?
Yeah, that was certainly really big for us to be able to run the ball and have the balance that we were looking for. We were very efficient in that game. Definitely one of our better games, and we played very good as a team, and but the offensive line definitely was much better.
How would you judge their progress at this point?
Yeah,
from the beginning of the season till now.
Yeah, they're definitely improving. I think you heard me discuss it, and then we maybe had an injury or two, but I feel like there's times when we're making progress, starting to get that continuity. Injuries happen. We have to be able to overcome them, but I think we're coming together and certainly getting better.
How's Will?
Will's getting better. He needed some time. Surely there was a couple parts of his body, I'm sure, that needed some rest and needed some ice, and so he's getting better.
Well, speaking of quarterback, Destin Wade is on the depth chart. What has he done to earn that status?
Yeah, Destin, we wanted to play the game Will was out, South Carolina game. We wanted to get him in there, and it was just, again, one of those games where, the opportunity just didn't present itself. I wish it would have, for just to see, Destin in there and give him some play, but he's been getting better. I think that's the big thing. Sometimes quarterbacks, everybody thinks they have to it's got to come to them right now, and a guy that's highly recruited like him, but again, it's a developmental sport. He's getting better, and as long as he keeps that positive attitude and works hard like he is, he's making really big progress. And, when you recruit a guy like that, there's a few years that you got to put in, and he's willing to do that. You just got to put in time. He's gotten better since day one here, and he just keeps on. He needs to keep on making strides like that. And if he keeps that same approach and the work like he is, and good things are going to happen to him.
Like you said last week, you thought you'd be close to full strength after the bye. Is that still on track?
Yeah, I think we're as good a shape as we've been in for several weeks. I don't know if we'll be at 100% or not. We're getting close.
What is it about Tennessee's wide receiver core that causes so much chaos in secondaries? Obviously, they had some explosive plays last time they came here. Obviously, they did it against Alabama, UT Martin. What is it that they do that puts so much stress on secondaries?
Yeah, they have 21 plays of 40 yards or more this year, so that's pretty explosive. They have 49 plays of 20 or more. So they they're very good. I think the scheme, obviously they have a very good scheme that's unique to them and with the splits that they have in the space. And they're doing a really nice job of subtle change-ups off their routes, so you might be anticipating one thing, but with the space that they have, they, are creating some deep shots in the way Hendren is throwing the deep ball, very efficient. He's very, very accurate on the deep pass.
Mark, how important is the start to the game when you play a tempo team like this? You mentioned it's hard to simulate it in practice. Is it something where early, if you just want to see a lot of plays, maybe just settle down, or is it just, do you have to?
Yeah, I think there's no question early, is very difficult. There's no question. So I think it's really important for us to not beat ourselves, number one, in trying to do too much and just getting a body on a body and competing. There's going to be a lot of one-on-one situations that we have to step up and win. And, it's important. Team defense is important. As always, leveraging the football. This team is very efficient and run the ball. I want to say 60-40. It doesn't seem that way with the amount of yards that they're passing for. But very efficient in the run game as well.
Is there a difference between how Tennessee and Ole Miss kind of run their offenses?
Is it different?
Like
Yes.
how they're different?
Yeah,
Like,
it's
to help you prepare, I guess.
it's different. I kind of went through that once already today, but I think it helped us in the preparation, in the urgency of getting the calls, getting lined up, and but different offenses, yes. Some things carry over as far as just the communication and urgency and getting lined up and making us practice it, be prepared for it, knowing going into the season we're going to play at least two teams that want to go as fast as possible.
Mark, last year you had obviously mistakes against Tennessee, and yet it literally came down to the closing seconds. How much, if at all, does that help you prepare emotionally or mentally, whatever, going into this game?
Well, it does in the factual part of it, like just watching the game and seeing the plays that carry over and that part of it, does. I mean, year to year really doesn't make a difference. I mean, again, I was asked that question earlier this year with some teams. It's just like them. It didn't matter. The previous years didn't matter for them versus Alabama. This year's a different, totally new year and new teams. Sure, you look at scheme, you look at the ways that you beat yourself or they beat you and try to improve on those. But last year we played much of the game very efficiently, but certain situations we fell short. And we talk about that all the time. You guys have heard me say that 100 times. You could play vast majority of a game very, very good, but you don't know what situation or what play is going to determine the outcome of a game.
Mark, playing a disciplined game, more important against Tennessee than any other time this season?
It's always important. I don't see how it can be more important. I think it's always important to play as disciplined as you can, but you obviously got to go take it and win. I mean, obviously Josh Heupel's done a remarkable job. He's got his team playing at a very high clip, and he's got them very aggressive. And and so you're not going to go. A team like this isn't going to go give it to you. You have to go earn it. You have to go win. And so I think while being disciplined and not beating yourself and self-inflicted wounds are always important, you also have to be aggressive and you have to go win.
Mark, you mentioned the number of.
Football just as important as well.
Pardon me?
Playing complementary football just as
Oh, yeah,
important as well.
without question. I think you know that. You're not going to beat a number 3 team in the country without playing good in all areas.
Did you get to know Josh very well when he was working for?
Well, of course, I got to know Josh through the years. He worked for both my brothers. I don't remember the exact year we worked together at Arizona, but coming in and I think he was working for Oklahoma. Obviously, played for Oklahoma, great quarterback there, and won the national championship. And then Mike hired him as one of his early jobs, I want to say, and did a great job for us. Just I think it was one quick year, but worked at Arizona and then went back to work at Oklahoma. So just know him.
Are you surprised at all that he's been able to put his stamp on their offense so quickly? I mean, with that type of offense?
Well, you have to give them credit for how fast, they're playing, or how fast he turned it, if you will. I mean, they've always been a quality program with great players. There's no question. But Josh has done a remarkable job, and you have to give him credit for what he's done and the success that he had, the winning that he did both at UCF and at Tennessee. And it's to some extent, no, it doesn't surprise you. Josh has always been a winner, and win the Heisman in the competitive person that he is, and obviously he's done a great job as a head coach at both places.
Mark, I was asking, you mentioned, the number of 40-plus yard and 20-plus yard plays this offense Tennessee's done. How important is it to make sure that you're, keep the spirits up of your defense? And you have to kind of tell the guys what's going to happen and we got to keep them up.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You're definitely going to take some shots. I mean, they're going to get some explosives. You got to try to limit that as best you can. Obviously, the explosives that we gave up a year ago didn't help us in the game, but again, you've seen them do it this year at an even higher clip. You can't just sit back and give them everything in front of you either, like you can maybe against some other teams, because they go so fast and they could rip off chunks, so anything underneath they could catch and run. And even the run game is explosive, it's a double-edged sword there.
As a follow-up to that, you also mentioned, you told the guys, hey, they're going to move the football. The defensive guys that kind of eat you up, you kind of hate yes and see
Well,
that.
I mean, I don't think it's fun for anybody to give up yards. Whether you're a defense guy or an offensive guy, I don't think anybody likes giving up yards, again, I think to act like anybody, we saw that, I don't think, anybody is just capable of just completely shutting down this offense,
Mark, you've talked in the past about liking flying under the radar as a program. And obviously, it was a little hard to do being ranked in the top 10, but is this a game where you can kind of get back to that and kind of enjoy that opportunity?
Well, any time you play in, top ranked teams and these guys are ahead of the East with Georgia and great venue, SEC game against the top 3 team in the country, big game, big opportunity, and we have to embrace that challenge, yes.
Mark, when you hired Brad as a position coach, what about him made you confident he could be a really good defensive coordinator one day?
Yeah, I knew when I hired him, I said that day one was that it was extremely important, number one, to develop the talented outside backers that we had in the program. And then number two, he was a big picture guy. I knew right away that that was important to me and to our staff. And as I mentioned, I think, with how complex and how many different styles in college football, you've seen it from last game to this game. I mean, you see so many different styles. You don't always see that at the next level. And so I think, with college football, there's extremes and different styles, and I think it's really important to have as many big picture guys as you can.
On a bye week,
Secondary is playing right now, especially with this kind of challenge.
Yeah, they've been playing really good. I think this is definitely a different and unique challenge. The way you are, there's no hiding in this. There's not a lot of protection in a lot of plays. You're going to have to win one-on-one matchups.
bye week, do you watch some of these SEC teams that you have coming up? Do you get to watch Georgia, Tennessee?
If you have time, with what you have going on and traveling and recruiting and things, and spend time with your family, that's important. But when you have time, we're all junkies. I mean, when there's time, you're going to watch football if it's on. But I think most of us can understand that time is very limited.
Coach, you touched on it earlier, the atmosphere in Knoxville. How do you prepare your guys to go down there in a hostile environment, especially coming off against that win against Alabama?
Well, that's a pretty big question there. How do you prepare them to go do that? I don't know. You want to tell me? No, it's a normal approach for us. We understand it's a very big challenge. I don't know. It's very hard to simulate the tempo, as I mentioned, and gone in depth many times about that. And there's different ways that we try to do that. And then the environment, it's very difficult. I mean, we play in this league consistently, as you know, so we're used to playing in these environments. That doesn't make it any easier. You know, this is a unique challenge this week. And so we have to, you know, learn from the things we did well, areas where we fell short, and in environments like this, try to offset it as best you can. Much like everyday approach to most everything we do.
And on that topic, I mean, everybody, oh, you know, Tennessee, they're number 3, they have this unbelievable offense. How much though do
Pardon
you?
me? I'm sorry.
Everybody's like, okay, the great challenge, Tennessee, number 3, unbelievable offense, but how much of it comes down to just making sure your guys do what they do and not get too caught up in who you're playing?
Always a major point for us. You know, again, you know, we address the situation each and every week. So it's a different situation, right? Coming off a big win, coming off a bad loss, you're on the road, you're at home. You know, what situation are we into? Are you perceived to be a big underdog or perceived to be a big favorite? Whatever. The situation is always different, and you know, that's something we address, and you know, this week will be no different.
Okay, folks, thank you very much.
See you tomorrow.